Good afternoon. A couple of us are giddy here because we had a heck of a week last week, and county really did a great job out there. 2 spiders, kids all over, volunteers all over. We saw people from the city, from the county, from West Fargo. All sorts of people showed up and knocked it out of the park. 200,000, right? That's what we got. In fact, you got my thermometer busting here. So first of all, we want to thank all the people that came out. I think we saw some repetitive people come out day after day, which I was very surprised, but that sometimes happens. And as I know, we'll get a briefing here, but the county is also in full force right now with those sandbags and in-out distributing them. People are needing them, wanting them, and using them. Our flood fight will begin this week. We'll begin to close off Elm Street, 12th Avenue Bridge, some different things. We're going to put some flood walls in. Ben's crew is going to be busy. And you will see a minor flood fight, but not maybe necessarily major, but it still does affect us. And I'm sorry to say, but it will affect some travel plans of people in the community. So we're getting some good news as we go along from the Weather Service. I think we'll get some explanations from Nathan that will find us a little bit more happy than we've been before, and feel that we're making great progress. Well, President Bernie Dart, speak next.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. On behalf of the citizens of West Fargo, I'd like to thank the Cass County Commissioners and Chairman Peterson and Mayor Mahoney for their leadership and in this effort of creating these 200,000 sandbags as we need. And I'd also like to thank Jason Benson, Cass County engineer, for his efforts, along with all of our incident commanders from within our communities for the work that they did. I'm proud to say that we had 74 students from Cheney Middle School there that helped, and over 200 West Fargo residents that were addresses that registered, as well as many of our public works staff, our fire department, and other administrative officers were also out there helping. I would ask that the citizens of West Fargo that have the Cheyenne River running in their backyard to continue to be vigilant. Watch the river as we are concerned about the potential of ice jams as our spring melt continues and that type of thing. So we just, again, ask them for their cooperation and their vigilance into making sure that the riverbanks are holding the water back. With that, Cass County Commission President Chad Peterson.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to save my comments till the end after we hear from our team.
Sure. So at this point, I'll highlight a little bit of what Fargo is looking at for potential river crest levels here over the course of the next 10 days or so. It's important to point out that the river is still actively rising. We still don't know quite what that crest level will be, but the National Weather Service has indicated that it's probably somewhere within that 32 to 35 foot range at this point, and we'll know more in the next few days of what that eventually turns out to be. It's dependent on how fast the water actually gets into the river systems upstream of us, as well as what the precipitation may entail for us later this week. At those levels, the city is not anticipating to need any emergency measures. We'll be heavily relying on the permanent mitigation measures that we've been able to complete over the past 14 years and see the success of the investment the community has made with those levees and flood walls. As I mentioned, we'll continue to monitor the weather forecasts and any precipitation that may impact the river levels at a future date. So some people may be asking, why are the river levels coming in lower than anticipated with what we were discussing over the past few weeks? Well, the primary reason for that is the contributing areas melted at varied rates for us. On the east half of our drainage basin, so more of the Minnesota area, the snow melted quite a bit quicker than the area immediately upstream of us, of Wahpeton, as well as that Wild Race area. That allowed for those east areas to enter into the river systems, which are now coming at us or flowing towards us, while the west areas are now just starting to enter into their tributary areas and be a few days behind the areas to the east. This is historically different because usually the peak flows for these drainage areas are more closely matched and not quite offset like they are this year. So what does the flood fight look like for the next week to 10 days for Fargo? Like I mentioned, we'll be heavily reliant on our permanent mitigation measures. We have 85 storm sewer lift stations that will be operational, will all be operational by the end of the week. Currently, we have about 20 of them in use today. Public Works will be busy installing the removable flood walls that we have throughout the city. They're actually starting on some areas today that are not impacting vehicle traffic, and the ones that are going across roads will be installed as conditions warrant. The road closures, Elm Street, as the mayor mentioned, is already closed today. 12th Avenue Bridge over to Moorhead is anticipated to close Wednesday, but that may change a little bit depending on how fast the river rises or does not rise. We also anticipate 2nd Street South over by the high-rise area. That will need to close right around the river stage at 30 feet. And then the 1st Avenue North Bridge into Moorhead will need to close right around the 31, 32 foot level 2, which at that point Moorhead's underpass on their side goes underwater. Lastly, I'd just say anybody that's interested in staying up to date on what our current information is for the flood fight to visit our website at fargond.gov/flood 2023. We still have those interactive flood stage maps that individual property owners can look at what levels their properties may or may not be impacted at. And with that, I'll turn it over to Matt from West Fargo.
Good afternoon. In West Fargo, we're just continuing with our standard spring operations. And so far, we're in pretty good shape with the slow melt this year. The Cheyenne River levels have been low, and the flow is currently continuing to stay low, and it appears to stay that way till the end of the week. Bald Hill Dam, which releases into the Cheyenne, that's currently putting out about 560 cubic feet per second. Which compared to a year ago was about 2,200 feet per second. We expect the flows to continue to be steady and climb the rest of the week. The snow melt with the forecast has been continuing to be slow, and a lot of it is in the fields have been pretty dry this last fall and continue to have infiltration into the soils. But as those soils become saturated, we're expecting a little bit more increased concern for overland flooding in certain areas. As far as operations go, we're just continuing to monitor the snow and water levels around town and check the flows. Right now, our crews are just prepared and ready to go if needed, but at this time, we have not hit any action levels. And with that, I'm going to Jason.
As we've been talking for the last couple of weeks, we're really focused on what the National Weather Service had come out with on the 23rd of March for their overall forecast for that 25 to 50% chance flood, but yet preparing for that 10% chance. And when we look at the various tributaries, we're still really anticipating in between that 25 to 50% chance flood event. And I'll go over a few of the different rivers. So again, look at that 19.5 to 20.5 on the Kindred gauge, around 91 and a half on the Harwood gauge, and then in that 20 to 22 range for Mapleton. So just in the last several hours, they've updated some of these hydrographs for the Cheyenne River and Maple River. So again, looking at that 19.5 and probably a second rise on that as more water comes from that Lisbon area further into middle of next week. This is the new change that we haven't seen until just later this morning, is that now in the area north of West Fargo up towards Harwood, at that Harwood gauge, expecting 90.9 this time next week. So we are anticipating that to continue to climb into that Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe to be in that 91 to 91.5. At that point, we expect pretty significant overland flooding from north of West Fargo along the County Road 17 Cheyenne River corridor all the way to Harwood, and then north of Harwood in some of the rural subdivisions along Cass County Highway 32 and Cass County 81. And then on the Maple, again, expecting to have a fairly significant rise over the next week and being near that 21 point level at Mapleton at the gauge. And that water, then it's about another day and a half from Mapleton to where it gets to that Harwood area, where the confluence of the Cheyenne. So again, that'll time out to add a lot of water from both the Maple River and the Cheyenne, and the Rush River in that Cheyenne River area next to Harwood. So with that, over the last 48 hours, we've had a number of overland flooding events take place, starting on the western edge of the county up along the Barnes County line, along the Maple River corridor. And so we've had a number of roads closed with water over the top. And that water's, we're seeing it move more from the west to east. As the fields start to open up, we're seeing, unusual or less desirable flood conditions in some cases, where some fields open up, run off, they hit a ditch that's opened, and all of a sudden it gets a mile or two down the road, hits a blocked culvert, and then starts to spread out and overtops various roads. So a lot of snowpacked ditches and culverts that so rural residents should expect that where the roads that they take going to work in the morning may not be passable when they get home at night, just based on these different changing conditions. But generally, we've seen the areas that have been flooded and overtopped are areas that we've seen flooded in the past flood events, such as 09, 10, and 11. We have started our sandbag delivery. Last Thursday and Friday, we delivered about 17,000 sandbags out to rural areas in the Kindred and Harwood area. Today, we're delivering another 8,000. So out of the 115,000 sandbags that Cass County has, out of the 200,000, we've got about 15,000 that we're going to have standing by for emergency response. But then the 100,000 remaining, we've already delivered about 25,000 of those. And we anticipate over the next week to continue to deliver those. So for rural residents, we've also delivered 19,000 sandbags worth of either bundles of sandbags and deliveries of sand. So for rural residents, if they need sandbags, especially now that we've got a better picture on what's happening on the Cheyenne, both in the Kindred area and the Harwood area, what's happening in the Maple, if they need filled sandbags, please go on our county website and fill out the form. Contact our hotline number 241-8000, and we can get you in touch with the right engineer staff that handles that area, and we'll make sure that we get you on our order delivery schedule to get sandbags out in the next, whether it's later today or later this week, if you're planning on building that sandbag levee this weekend. And if people need to pick up bundles of 1,000 sandbags, they can stop by the Cass County Highway Department in West Fargo at 1201 West Main. And then, of course, we've got our emergency sandbags over the weekend. Between Friday and Sunday, we did deliver about 2,000 sandbags out on emergency response to several different rural farmsteads. And we'll continue to have that capability, whether it's a 24-hour day operation. We'll always have a crew that can respond within a few hours to get out to those rural farmsteads, especially as we've seen some of the unusual overland flooding this spring. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our sheriff to talk about, as these floodwaters rise, what the sheriff has for emergency response capabilities to support rescue missions.
Thank you, Jason. Good afternoon, everyone. As I mentioned in a previous flood meeting, our number one priorities are going to be to conduct public safety and protect life, protect property after that, and then, of course, to partner with our citizens out in the county to make sure that they have what they need so that they can protect their homes. We've already shifted into a flood mode at this point. We have a number of our staff that have been out checking roadways and documenting which roads are being overtopped by water, visiting with our citizens along that flood corridor to make sure that they have the resources that they need to protect their properties. Of course, a couple of our concerns right now are people driving around or motoring out in the rural areas and coming up onto those roadways that are overtopped with water, and that may be soft from the spring frost, leaving those roadways and, sliding off a roadway and going into a flood-filled ditch at this point. We do have a number of resources that we can utilize to assist people during these efforts. We've got 2 airboats that can be utilized, and they can be used to, again, conduct rescue missions if we need to do that. If we need to get people supplies, we can do that as well. We've got 2 ATVs, 1 UTV, and several drones that we can use to recon areas that might be flood prone or be experiencing flooding at the time, where we can do reconnaissance before we go into those areas to assist them if they need that. We also have our emergency response teams on standby. If we need to call out additional resources to assist in any way, we can do that in short notice. We visited with several of our partners, law enforcement partners, emergency service partners. The North Dakota Highway Patrol can assist us at any point if we need to have them assist us. We've reached out to a few other sheriff's departments that have additional boating assets that we can utilize. And certainly these 2 gentlemen over here, our Fargo fire chief and police chief, are good partners of ours. I know that I can call on them at any point, and they would certainly assist us if we need that. So very appreciative of that. And then lastly, I guess, if we need to utilize our Tactical Operations Center, we'll get that indication from Jason. Our intention, I think, is to activate that at 32 feet on the red if we get to that level. And really what that allows us to do is communicate with our citizens a lot better. It's kind of that one-stop shop for everything that someone might need in a flood fight, where they don't need to call a bunch of different numbers to try to find different resources. They can call that one number, 701-241-8000, and get the resources they need efficiently and effectively so that they can fight this thing if they need to. So I think we're in good shape at this point, and I guess my last message to our citizens would be, if you need us, don't hesitate to call. We want to assist however we can. So thank you.
Mayor, sheriff, team, thank you much. I've never liked winter. Been here my whole life and never liked a bit of it. It's been cold and miserable. We're the only people on the planet outside Siberia, a place where the communists would send people to die in gulags, that think 30 degrees, no wind, and sunny isn't so bad. It is bad, and it's okay to say that. When I was little, my brother and I talked about this not that long ago. When I was little, I never wanted to stay in the Fargo area. I wanted to move and get on to something better. My brother never wanted to leave. I never left, and my brother wound up serving all over the planet in the military. It took me till I was in my 20s to realize why my brother was right. And I'm not saying that lightly, because admitting my brother's right is not a thing I like to talk about very often. But what he saw and I didn't see is the people. That's why I stayed. It's everyone in this room, every one of your team members that help support you along the way. It's everyone watching this and the people that aren't, and the people that are going to read about it as well. It's the people that make us different. It's the people that make this area strong. We did 200,000 sandbags without a hiccup. I don't think people realize how big a deal, how heavy a lift that would be for most communities, because it is a massive lift for most. We did it in a week. If we needed 2 million sandbags, we'd have done 2 million sandbags. I guarantee we would have. And like always, we would have had more volunteers than we needed to get the mission accomplished. It's because of the people. I can't thank any one of you enough. I can't thank the people at home enough. I can't thank the kids who got a day off from school enough. Someday we'll have a diversion, we'll need less. We won't ever need zero, but we'll need less. And as time passes, these will be memories, and we'll be happily thinking of them as memories, not having to worry about a 200,000 sandbag scramble at the end. But we're not done. As Mr. Benson and team shared, we still have flooding in the rural areas that's transpiring. Our sheriff is preparing his team to take care of you and make sure you're safe if you need help. Ask for help if you need help. It's imperative that you ask early and often because sometimes it may be too late. You'll be taken by surprise as something backs up and you have water in your basement and all your property may be lost. But if that happens, we'll be there. Our sheriff and team will be there to keep you safe and make sure your family's protected and get you to a safe spot. So we're not through it. We will get through it. We are stronger every day. Thank you, everyone, for your time and volunteerism. And again, God bless you all.
Press have any questions of anybody? Commissioners, you have any questions yourself? John, Roulette, anybody? Ben, your team's ready? The pumps are ready? Great. Good. You got everything we needed, right? Yep, good. Okay. Well, Jason Besson takes a lot of different jobs, but one of the things he did Friday as well is he directed traffic because the problem was we had too many volunteers. So it was fantastic. He had to give them directions of where to go and where to park, and then he was inside counting and doing different elements of the event. But county did a great job, and we've always been, we're a little partial to Sandbag Central, but it was fun to see Sandbag Cass do well. So thank you.